The instruction manuals will come with a bearer layout plan. This will be a plan of how the bearers are to be laid out. They'll include detailed measurements of where each bearer meets the other, as you can see, as we're marking out here. It's very important you follow the instructions in order to ensure that the bearers are underneath the cabin properly supporting the floor. The bearer layouts also describe where the rapid pads are going to be situated. This only acts as approximation right now, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to assemble the framework of the bearers, we're going to put it where it's going to be, and the pre-drilled holes are going to be our markers. They are going to tell us where the rapid pads will need to go. Pre-drill the holes for the nails that hold the bearers together, just to stop the timber splitting. Nail the bearers together through your pre-drilled holes using the nails provided. Once you've assembled the bearer frame, you've got to check that it's square. You do this very simply by measuring the two diagonals and making sure that the measurement is the same. Any adjustment, easy to do, just pull it into the right sort of shape. You'll end up needing to check the square several times throughout the construction process. Now we're using a rapid pad foundation system for this cabin, and we're going to use the bearers to mark out where the rapid pads are actually going to go. We're just using some scraps of wood and pushing them through the pre-drilled holes to mark the position. That's because it's particularly hard ground here. If it was softer ground, you could just push a nail in, or you could into the soil, or you could leave something there just to mark the position. Doesn't really matter. We're simply using these scraps of wood because we have them to hand. Once you've marked out the positions of the bearers and of the rapid pad positions, you can take away the bearers, leave them to one side, leaving your markers for where the rapid pads are going to go. Okay, the next stage is to take your markers away and lay the plastic grids down with the very, very centre where the marker was. Mark out the edge of the plastic grids with a shovel, or, well, in this case it's a scrap of timber, and you're marking out where you're going to dig. Now you only need to dig down perhaps 30 or 40 millimetres, and that's just the area where the plastic grid is then going to sit. Each pad is provided with two bolts, a long and a short. Try to use a short one whenever you can, but the long one is provided to give you a greater range of heights available on each pad, depending upon how uneven your garden may be. The pad is welded with a nut to it, and the bolt will screw into that. One of the three extra nuts, as you can see already on this bolt, is then used to tighten and secure the bolt against the plate. Don't have it protruding through, just have it flush with the back of the plate. The two remaining nuts, thank you, are then screwed down on top. And there is a plate included which sits on top for the bearer. You can then tighten the middle nut up against the top nut to lock it into place. A quick safety thing: if you find any of these are too tight going into the plate, whatever you do, don't try and over tighten it and force it with your hand, which can be very sharp. Wear some thick gloves if you're struggling to screw it in. As it happens, these are all going in really easily, so we haven't got to worry about it today. Once each grid has been dug down about 30 to 40 mil, the next thing you do is fill it with shingle. It's just ordinary garden gravel, but we provide it for you with the kit. About 1/4 to 1/5 of a bag per grid, and all you do is to smooth it down, filling up all of the holes on the plastic grid. The next thing, the plate sits on top. As you can see, it's got this little noggin which is going to hold it into place, and that'll end up going just into one of the plastic holes and stop it moving around. Now we've taken the bearers and we've laid them back down onto our rapid pads, and we're lining up the pre-drilled holes with the bolt for the rapid pad. Now some of the pads you can see are a little bit out of line, so it's got a little bit of moving around, but we've dug the holes with a little bit of room and a little bit of space to allow us to make those adjustments. As I said before, every step of the way as you're doing the base, keep on checking that you're square by measuring those diagonals, right? And you can make adjustments if you're not. So you see measure 1. By holding the measurement, you can then just hold the tape measure, move round and check that the other diagonal is the same. And if it's not, are we right straight away? Yeah. Brilliant, first time. The next thing to do is check that it's level. And the way they do that is by lowering the nuts on all of the middle pads so that the bearers are only being supported in the 4 corners. Once the bearers are only being supported in the 4 corners, they can adjust those 4 corners with a spirit level laid on top until it's all level amongst those corners. Then they can raise the nuts up again on the middle pads to support the base. Check your level on your 4 sides once you're finished. Any minor adjustment is very simple to do, just with the nuts on the rapid pad bolts. Make sure your 4 corners are level before you worry about tightening up the nuts on the central pads. Once you've got it all level, you can start adjusting the nuts on the middle ones. As this cabin was built on rapid pad foundations, you'll also get the structural insulation panels as well. These have 50mm of insulation as well as these battens. Now the rapid pads can take the weight. These battens built into the floor insulation help give the floor rigidity so that the whole floor is strong throughout. The battens will run in the opposite direction to the floor bearers. Like so. Now this system that we do will be compatible for all of our different thicknesses of cabins. This one is a 28mm walls, but these panels also have to be capable of being fitted onto a 45mm cabin. So in this cabin there would be approximately 20mm gap around the edges. On a 45mm cabin it'd be much less, only a couple of mil. The instructions to tell you how to lay out all of your panels across the entire floor, and try and leave a mil or so gap in between each panel just to allow for expansion and contraction. Included with your kit will be a trim piece that's going to go here to cover this, because at no point in any Dunster household cabins do we ever leave any of this chipboard type substance showing. So if you find that trim, and place it in at this stage just to make sure you have left the appropriate gap. Okay, once you check you've got the gap, take it away. Don't leave it there for now. Take it away. The panels now screw down into the bearers. If you space them out properly, with that 20mm gap around the edge and a very small 1mm gap in the middle, screwing here, about sort of 15mm from the edge, you're going to go through into the bearer.